She went through an interview that I did with Kagiso Rabada, and she said, "You're doing this right. You're doing this wrong. Change this, change that." Because unfortunately, I lost my dad in my early teenage years, and so for me, this game is a game that connects me to him. But from me being able to see when there was around a time when there was no spectators, to seeing a Newland packed stadium for a women's game was beautiful to witness. We're skilled, we're talented, and we deserve the sponsors, we deserve to be professional, we deserve the same amount of money that the men are getting. We deserve it all. Definitely India. I'd love to find myself back in India. I did tour with the Purchase Woman back in 2019. I was a media manager just for a month, and I was able to go to India. I went to Vadodara, went to Surat, and I was able to just immerse myself in the Indian culture and the food. And India has always been a great country to go to. And I remember when he introduced me and said, "This is Mr. Hall. Who wants to get into the cricket space? She wants to be a cricket broadcaster." And I remember the gentleman looking at me like with disbelief. Like I think he didn't take it serious. And I remember it leaving a weird, uncomfortable feeling in me because I looked at him and I was like, oh, he doesn't believe that I can do this. And it took me some time to get over that. I was hard on myself. I beat myself up. I thought maybe I'm not good enough to be in this space and I must just give up the dream of covering live games.
Hello and welcome to Cricket Times. Today, we are really excited to have with us the South African cricket broadcaster Lesego Pooe, known as a host of Lions Cricket TV on Super Sport. She has carved a niche in the sports media industry. Lesego is not just a popular presenter, but a strong advocate for the game, especially women's cricket. So without further ado, let's welcome Lesego on our show. Hi, Lesego. Welcome to Cricket Times. It's an extreme pleasure to have you.
I'm so happy and excited to chat to you. I mean, I've been looking forward to this conversation. So thank you so much to Cricket Times for having me.
Thank you. Starting our conversation, so tell us about your journey. I mean, how did all this broadcasting journey of yours begin?
Okay. I mean, it could take me a whole day to tell you about where my love for broadcasting started, but I think I'll just chop it up a bit. But I think the first time I was introduced to broadcasting and to cricket was when I was a young girl, about 7 years old. And I used to sit the whole day with my dad. We used to watch TV and watch Test cricket, and I sit with my brothers as well. And so I think that was my early memory of being introduced to cricket. But as far as broadcasting is concerned, I remember watching Kaz Naidoo, who was the first female to get into cricket broadcasting, especially as a commentator within the cricket space. And so I remember just being, I think, drawn to her work, and also I understood the importance of representation. And so I kind of saw myself as a young female, and I knew that there was something special about this lady, and I'd like to get into that space as well. And then I did the work, and fast forward to 2024, I'm living my cricket dreams. Yes, as a broadcaster.
Interesting story, I must say. You know, as you said, you spoke about Miss Naidu. I, I think she inspired you in this journey of yours. Am I right?
Yes, no, no, no. Kaz has been a mentor of mine, a friend of mine. Um, I remember the first time I got to meet her for the first time was in 2019. I was invited by Cricket South Africa to go to the Wanderers, and it was the South Africa versus England inbound series. And I went to the Wanderers, the media center, and I saw
Yeah.
Kaz Naidoo walk in my direction. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've never met her. I'm nervous, but I'm going to walk up to her and introduce myself. And I remember the minute I introduced myself, she asked me, so what is it that you want to do in this space? And I said to her, I want to be a cricket broadcaster. And she said, that is amazing. And
Yeah,
I'm happy to help you out. What are you doing so far? And at that time, I had not started in the industry. I had just started my YouTube channel covering cricket content, but I had not done anything major in this space. So I was still new. I was still a baby. And
yeah,
she said to me, take my number, call me, let's sit and let's have a chat. And let's see how we can get you to where you want to be and to what you want to do in this space. And I'm telling you, we started talking, texting. I didn't even waste time. I think that same night, I said, hi, Kaz, this is Mr. Ho. I met you earlier on, and I'd like to take you up on that offer. Can we have coffee? A week later, we were sitting at the Cricket South Africa offices, and she went through an interview that I did with Kagiso
yeah.
Rabada. And she said, you're doing this right, you're doing this wrong, change this, change that. And but this I love. I love your energy on screen. I love how you project yourself. I love how you speak. So continue with that, but work on A, B, and C. And literally that's how our story began, how she continued to mentor me and be a friend, more than anything
Yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah. Truly, I mean, that in fact tells how magnificent she has been. Helping right through. Not many
Yes.
people do that. So yeah, I mean, really uh, grateful of her because she helped you and you actually, came in front of us as well. So
No, true, true. I think she is a big advocate of women in this
yeah,
industry, whether you play sports or you're in the broadcasting space. But she has a great organization called G Sport for Girls, where she advocates for women in the
yeah,
space. Because oftentimes women have never been seen, have never been recognized, and she understands the power of recognition. And she gives young women an opportunity to be recognized. And
yeah.
from that recognition, that's where young women, whether they're broadcasters or they're sports women, they get to grow and expand and be the best version of themselves in this space.
Truly, you spoke about G Sport. In back in 2021, I guess you won the Women in South Africa, Women in Sports Media, I guess something, an award.
Yes.
So, could you tell us about that experience and how it has helped you in shaping your career?
Yeah, I won Woman in Social Media.
Yeah,
And it was so great for me to walk away with that award because when you look at my journey, the reason why I am where I am today is because of the power of social media. I decided that I'm going to use this platform and this tool to get myself to where I want to be, meaning having big broadcasters be able to see me and give me an opportunity in the broadcasting space. Because at the end of the day, TV is where it's happening, right? And
so,
so I remember I started my YouTube channel back in 2018. I was covering a T20 competition in South Africa. And I used to do match summaries on my YouTube channel. I specifically focused on cricket and cricket alone because I knew that I wanted to be in the cricket industry and be a cricket broadcaster and presenter. And so for me to walk away with the social media award for G Sport for 2021, it kind of felt like a full circle moment because
yeah,
that's where I started. That's where my journey with cricket started. And for me to walk away with that award, it kind of validated the work that I was doing and that I was good at what I do and I was seen by the right people in this industry. And so that kind of pushed me to be able to be seen by the relevant people, right?
yeah,
Because even after that time, I got to work for Fairbrake. I got to work for Supersport. Now I'm a contracted broadcaster, cricket broadcaster for Supersport. It's
yeah.
been 2 to 3 years now, and so that award, it really just reminded me that my work is recognized and I'm heading in the right direction.
Truly, truly, you are. So just rolling back a few years, you shared about your brother and your father. In fact, I heard an interview where you spoke about how cricket was quite popular in your family. They used to watch cricket matches and stuff like that. So could you share a moment from your childhood which somehow pushed you towards going in this profession?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough, like you said, that I was born into a family that was a sport-loving family. My dad loved cricket. My dad loved tennis. He loved football. And so we would sit and watch different sporting codes all the time. But it was for me the love of cricket that he had that kind of, directed me to go into this field. It was effortless. It was, a lot of people complain about the fact that Test cricket is the entire day for 4 to 5 days, but for us, it was a time and a moment for us to connect as a family. So it had a lot of sentimental attachment to the game. I had a lot of sentimental attachment to the game, because unfortunately I lost my dad in my early teenage years, and so for me, this game is a game that connects me to him.
Yeah,
Um, So, so I've always loved the game, and I continue to love the game. And you could see that my passion for my work, it comes through because I'm a passionate person. As you could see, I'm getting emotional. I'm a
yeah, yeah.
passionate person, and so for me, my earliest childhood memories is just sitting around the home and watching the game. But outside of that, I was fortunate enough to be in a school that has cricket for girls. So there was a girls cricket team at Carlton Jones, and one of my coaches, Ms. Van Aanwerpen, taught me the art and the skill of cricket. And I found myself playing provincial cricket in Northwest, which is a small mining province, and
Yeah.
Carltonville is a small mining town in the Northwest, borderline Northwest. And so I remember just going to trials and playing cricket on weekends and having to travel to different provinces and just enjoying the game. But unfortunately, that wasn't good enough, obviously, to progress to other leagues and play nationally. But my love for the game, I was still connected to it. And so when I got to an age where I figured it's important for me to make a career decision, that's when I merged my love for the game and
Yeah.
also my love for broadcasting. I married both those two worlds, and yeah, and then I got to continue and carve a journey for myself as a broadcaster.
So that was a great decision, I must say. You are still quite successful now. You have reached that position, and I hope that you go more higher from here. Um, so
Thank you.
just wanted to ask you about like you've been associated with super sport now. uh, Super sport is a big thing, big brand, right, in especially in South Africa. So how has it helped you in when it comes to your professional career, how it has helped
Mm.
you to grow, because you meet a lot of influential people as well, like broadcasters and cricketers. So yeah.
Yeah, Supersport has been such a good platform for me to grow and expand in my work. Like I said, I started off in 2019. I used to work in corporate, and then in 2018 I made a decision to leave a 9 to 5 and to venture into this that I'm doing. And so unlike other um, professionals in the space that have maybe gone to varsity, graduated, and knew immediately that they wanted to go into the space from their early 20s. For me, it was a different journey. So I used to work in corporate. From corporate, then I was unhappy and then decided that, you know what, I want to do what I love and what I'm passionate about. And so I made the pivot in 2018. And so I you have when I look at my journey, I have a shorter span in order for me to be immediately good at what I do. Some people have that little bit of time to grow into
Yeah.
their craft, to make mistakes and be comfortable with their mistakes. And so for me, because I went into this quite later on in my life, then you kind of feel like you have to be immediately good at what you do from the get-go. And that's the pressure that I put on myself. But with Supersport and working with Supersport, I've had my bosses who hold my hand, who would have a debrief session with me to say, okay, do this, do that, don't do that, don't do this.
Yeah.
And it feels good to be supported because other people aren't supported.
Yeah.
But I've really felt supported by Supersport. I felt supported by Vux, who's my boss at Supersport, that heads cricket at Supersport. I have a really good relationship with him. I have a good relationship with the commentators that I work with. For example, I love speaking about Brett Proctor because I remember when I
Yeah.
went to Fair Break for the first time, uh, I said to him, "Hey, listen, this is my first time covering a big international tournament, and so please give me some tips and tricks. Look at my work, assess my work, and let me know in what area should I improve on." And he took the liberty of saying, "Yeah, sure, I'll definitely do that for you." And he sat game after game, would watch, would observe, would be on Zoom calls. Because remember, I'm in Dubai, he's in South Africa in Durban. And he would say, "I'm available at 11 a.m., let's be on a call." And he would tear me apart. Listen, he'd be like, "Listen, Mr. Hall, there is no need for you to go through the starting 11. You must remember that the viewers are already watching you
Yeah.
and watching the starting 11 on the screen. Pick out certain players, make mention of what they bring into that game. Talk about their X factor and what you're expecting to see from them. No need to say Laura Volpart is opening with Danny Wyatt and then no. There's no need for you to do that. And so it's those moments that I appreciate. And you must remember that he works for Supersport and he was able to just hold my hand and say, "Don't worry,
Yeah.
I have you." I've been in this industry for many years. And so because you're starting off, I'll walk the journey with you. And so it's those kind of relationships that I have with the people that I work with at Supersport that are able to be honest and transparent with my work. And
Yeah.
even after a good day, they'll be like, "Well done." Even after a bad day, they'll say, "Okay, how do you feel about your work?
Yeah.
Where do you think you want to improve and work on?" And that's what Supersport has offered me. It has offered me guidance, but moreover, it has offered me community. It's so important to have community in the space. You don't want to feel like you are alone and you're walking this journey alone. And so, forever grateful for that. Forever grateful for that.
Truly, truly. In fact, you spoke about when you met Miss Naidu or sort of started your journey somehow in 2019 when England was touring South Africa. I guess I saw a great documentary, not a particular documentary, but kind of a video, kind of a series where the sport sort of showed how does broadcasting work, like every aspect, every detail, all the cameramen. I guess Mark Nicholas and Michael Holding were there. They were hosting. They went into the press room as well. They went into the directors' room. Two
Mhm.
directors were there, and how do they operate all the camera angles and work. So I guess as a fan, as a viewer, sitting way back in India, sitting way ahead, in India, and sort of watching all these stuff, this actually, helps in growing the interest as well towards the game. So yeah, I mean that was quite fun watching that documentary. Just wanted to add that super sport aspect in that conversation.
Yes. And it's so interesting that you would share that because I remember when I was covering, it was South Africa versus, I think it was Sri Lanka, when Sri Lanka was here in a
Uh-huh.
recent tour in South Africa. And because I get a number of DMs from ladies that want to break into this industry, I decided to just share my experience as a broadcaster and what happens behind the scenes. How do you prepare? When you get to the venue, the stadium at a certain time that the production assistant has communicated to you, what's the first thing that you do? Where do you go? You go get your makeup done. After that, you go downstairs and they have to check if your earpiece is working, if your mic is working. If you're fortunate in this time, you can do a quick dry run to see if everything is in order. And there's the small TV that's there, the monitor where you're able to see if whether the graphics are popping up. And I remember just taking, all my Instagram followers. throughout the journey of what it means to just experience a day in a broadcaster's life. And yeah, that was quite fun, and a lot of people appreciated that content. And I realized there's an appetite for people and followers of the game to know exactly what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, truly, truly. Moving on to our next question. I believe you are a strong advocate for women's cricket, the growth of women's cricket. So, what are the changes you have observed over the years, especially in South African region when it comes to women's cricket?
Yeah, so women's cricket has grown in leaps and bounds. And I started around the time when women's games were starting to be broadcasted, a whole lot more. And and you could and that speaks on the fact that there is an appetite for women's cricket. It has
Yeah,
grown and it continues to grow. And it's good for SuperSport to be that main broadcast that have broadcast rights, and they can showcase the games in South Africa. And so there's definitely an appetite for women's cricket, and especially looking at the fact that the Proteas women's team made it to the finals when the T20 World Cup was here in South Africa. And there was an appetite for that. And you could see that the stadiums were filled to capacity in Newlands, and I was fortunate to be there. And I remember thinking about a time when there would only be 10 to 20 to 40 spectators at a stadium. But from me being able to see when there was around a time when there was no
yeah,
spectators, to seeing a Newland packed stadium for a women's game was beautiful to witness. And so, like I said, there definitely is an appetite and women's game continues to grow. And I love what Cricket South Africa has done. They have given the women's players the same match fees as the men.
yeah,
So they're all on the same level. What they've done is that they've also professionalized domestic cricket for the women in this country. And they've made it professional, and it's good. And we know in the next coming years there's going to be an SA20 Women's League.
yeah,
And and that is so exciting. There's a buzz around women's cricket. And now there's a test cricket that's happening between South Africa and England. And the last test match that took place was back in 2002. And we're living in exciting times for women's cricket. And for me, the reason why I advocate for women's cricket is because I'm a woman. I played the game,
yeah,
and I understand what goes into, just being a woman playing the
yeah,
game, and that we're skilled, we're talented, and we deserve the sponsors. We deserve to be professional. We deserve the same amount of money that the men are getting. We deserve it all, and
truly,
and and
truly.
and, and like I said, living in exciting times for women's cricket.
Truly, I completely agree. And no, the women cricket has in fact globally we have seen the rise in women's cricket in South Africa as well, in India as well. England, Australia were maybe you can say that they were little ahead, but now more teams have come out and sort of giving them a competition in the women cricket region.
Yes, yes, you are so right. I mean, prime example is looking at South Africa versus Australia in the recent T20 World Cup. I mean, first semi-final, and the way that South Africa played against Australia, they broke Australia's winning streak. And we know that in the history of South Africa and Australia, Australia has always been that thorn in our flesh. We've always been unable to beat Australia at a World Cup event. And South Africa went into that game knowing that they've beat Australia. They beat Australia earlier on the year, and they knew that they had the capability of being able to beat Australia in a World Cup campaign. And they did exactly that. And so you could see that the gap that was once there between Australia and the quality of cricket that Australia plays, the gap is becoming smaller and
Yeah,
smaller and smaller. And we're leveling out the playing field.
Yeah.
And so it was just incredible to see South Africa beating Australia at a World Cup campaign, especially a semi-final.
Yeah. Must be a surreal feeling. Uh,
Yes.
so, moving on to our next question. What do you think are the the biggest challenges for women in sports broadcasting industry, and how to address them?
The biggest challenge to women broadcasters and
And the challenges that you feel currently, the challenges in broadcasting industry when it comes to women, and how to address
yeah.
them.
For me, I'll speak about my personal experience. I think one thing that I remember experiencing this when you remember the story that I told you about where I met Kaz Naidu, right?
Yeah,
At the Wanderers. I remember there was a guy that I was with that works for Cricket South Africa, and he was introducing me to other commentators. And I remember when he introduced me and said, "This is Lesego. She wants to get into the cricket space. She wants to be a cricket broadcaster." And I remember the gentleman looking at me like with disbelief. Like I think he didn't take him serious, you know?
yeah,
And I remember it leaving a weird, uncomfortable feeling in me because I looked at him and I was like, oh, he doesn't believe that I can do this. Sometimes you just know how people react to you.
yeah,
And I was like, wow, that's interesting, you know? And you find that quite a lot, well, I find it quite a lot in my journey where some people are still trying to figure out if this is truly what you do. When I introduce myself, like, oh, I'm a cricket broadcaster, good to meet you. You're like, really? You're a cricket broadcaster? Wait, what do you do exactly? Because people are fascinated by the fact that
yeah,
I'm a young black female. We can't deny the fact that there aren't a lot of young black females in this space. And so when they're introduced to me, it's like, oh wait, you exist in this space? So it's like people don't take me serious. They don't believe that I do what I do and that I am good at what I do. And I actually know the game. And there was another incident where I hosted a Mzansi Super League player draft. And I was interacting with my analysts, asking the relevant questions, asking about the importance of having a left-handed and a right-handed batsman and stuff like that. And I remember after the event, this gentleman walked up to me and he said, I'm so fascinated by your knowledge of the game. Where did you learn this? And I thought to myself, he wouldn't ask a gentleman that question.
yeah,
He wouldn't be surprised by the fact that a gentleman knows the game and knows it to that extent. But because I'm female and because I'm young, his mind cannot make sense of the fact that this girl actually knows the game. And that's what I'm often seeing, that you have to prove yourself,
yeah,
constantly prove your worth, constantly make mention of the fact that, hey, this is what I do, and I know the game, and I love the game.
yeah. Totally. Yeah. Thank you for sharing such details. The challenges. Uh, my just another aspect of that question. What do you think? How can we address this?
I think one thing that's important is that as a broadcaster and as a female broadcaster, in fact, any female in any position, it's important that you get into the space knowing exactly what it is that you're doing, being exceptionally good at what you do,
Yeah,
because that is going to shut out the noise and the naysayers. Unfortunately, you have to rock up and be exceptionally good at what you do. The power belongs to the person that's doing the work. And so for me, I'm leaning on the fact that my preparations have to be really good. I have to cover all my bases. You should never be found wanting. And you have to
yeah,
always be in a position where you're open to constantly learning, improving yourself. Yes, we cannot be perfect. Yes, sometimes we make mistakes. Yes, sometimes we have a good day and we have a bad day. But it's always a matter of coming back stronger, it's like the game of cricket. There are players that sometimes are on form and sometimes they aren't on form. And you have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what can I work on? What can I improve on so that when I do get back, how am I better at my work?
Yeah, yeah, truly, truly. So, moving on to the next question. What do you think? Like, can I ask you about what's your process for preparation? When you go for a live broadcast, let's say.
Preparation is so key. That's the number one
Yeah,
fact. Okay. It's so important. So, for example, now I'll be covering the South Africa versus England series. I'm covering the T20s. And so for me, this is how preparation works. I'm at my desk actually. I've got a whole lot of notes, right? So what I usually do is go through, I start off with, so for example, England. I have to look at the games that they've been playing. What series have they participated in? Look at their World Cup, the T20, recent T20 World Cup campaign, how it unfolded for them. Look at the standout performances. Look at what went wrong, and be able to see this season how their campaign has been throughout this entire season, and and then be able to read. I also read articles that have been written around England,
yeah,
and even just the press releases heading into this series against South Africa. What are they looking forward to? What are they looking to improve and work on? What statement would they like to make in the series against South Africa? They also play Test cricket, and so this is a great preparation for them to go into the Ashes against Australia. And so you look at that, there is such a beautiful story that you can get out
yeah,
of research and portray that story in your live games. So from England, look at South Africa's performances, their players that have gone to the WBBL, how their performances are. Are they going into the series against England with form or without form?
yeah.
And that's what you look at. And so it's a thorough preparation. Read a lot of articles. Read a lot of articles. If there's such a players that you're not familiar with, study the players. Read some articles on that player, do the research, and find yourself in a position where you feel like you've covered all your bases, because that helps with the nerves. You go into it
Truly,
knowing that you've covered all you needed to cover and you're ready to rock and roll.
yeah,
so
truly,
so that's just an overview of how I go into my preparations.
yeah, you do a lot of work, I must say, uh, and which is
It
quite
is.
inspiring. So,
Thank
you know,
you.
if given the opportunity, if given the opportunity to host a global cricket event, what would you choose?
Ooh. So I'm looking forward to working at an ICC event. That's number one.
Yeah,
Um, and I want to start off by being a digital insider. I don't know
yeah,
if you've seen that role at the ICC, just
I
work
have, I
myself
have.
up.
Yeah,
Start with the digital insider. I've got a set plan. Listen. I'd really love to get to a point where I work as a digital insider and then progress into being one of the hosts for the any women's ICC event, and you see how specific I am, women's ICC event.
yeah,
Definitely want to
yeah,
work for a women's event, but definitely India. I'd love to find myself back in India. I did tour with the Proteas Women back in 2019. I was a media manager just for a month, and I was able to go to India. I went to Vadodara, went to Surat, and I was able to just immerse myself in the Indian culture
yeah,
and their food. And India has always been a great country to go to, and so I want to be able to find myself just covering the women's league that side. And so it
yeah,
would be so great for me to be part of something so big, because India, whether it's for men or for the women's game, Indians are really, really passionate about cricket. And so I definitely would love to be part of that. But I mean, it's endless. The 100, the WBBL. There's so many T20 leagues that are happening for the women, and whether I get one or two leagues, that's more than enough. And hopefully, it's in the next coming years, SA20 will be happening for the women, and I'd love to be part of that team as well. So
I
the
wish you
world is
all the
my
best.
oyster. The world is my oyster.
Definitely. In fact, my next question was related to India as well. That if you get a chance to host or to be part of the broadcasting team in WPL or maybe IPL, is there any particular broadcaster or a group of broadcasters you want to be part with or you want to share a stage with?
No, I haven't really thought about it. Firstly, I haven't worked with I know let me speak about South African talent, right?
Yeah.
Natalie Jamanas is a really great commentator, as well as Kaz Naidu. Natalie gets a lot of opportunities to go to all these different leagues. She's constantly touring. And I know I'm going to be fortunate enough to work with her at the women's series now. And so having to work with her outside of South Africa, having
Yeah.
to be part, because I know she's always going to India, she's going to Australia, and she's part of ICC events. So I definitely would love to find myself working with Natalie Jamanas, working with Kaz Naidu. Those are definitely my two big commentators that I'd love to work with. But I've also been a fan of, from the men's perspective, Ian Bishop. Ian
Yeah.
Bishop, I think, is a passionate commentator. I love his energy, but also he's just a cool, calm, collected uh, commentator. But a lot of passion and wisdom comes through his commentary. And so, if I ever get to meet him, and if I ever get to work with him, that would be so amazing, so incredible.
Yeah, truly. In fact, I also am a great follower and fan of Jan Bishop. He knows in fact, the domestic structure of the cricketing nations better than the local boys. In fact, I feel that he knows
True.
everything about cricket. Ask him anything and he'll give you the opinion and he'll give you the stats as well. So he's incredible.
Yes, no, definitely. But there's also an Indian commentator. He used to play the game. He's got a YouTube channel as well, and he does interviews on his YouTube channel. I just forgot his name. I think his last name starts with a B. A Buck. I'll remember now. He's also a commentator that I definitely would love to work with him. I'll remember and I'll share with you the name, and then you could share it on on the episode when it comes out.
Okay. Okay. So moving on to another question. What do you think about, like you have earlier explained about the challenging aspects, but I want to ask about the specifically challenging aspects of broadcasting. And has there been a moment in your, professional career where, things did not go as planned?
Yes, I am happy to share the story. Top of my head, I think of when I covered varsity cricket. I covered varsity cricket for the first time, and that was my first big opportunity through Supersport. I think this was back in 2022.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a lot of technical issues that were taking place. It was a 3-day tournament, and there was technical issues day one, day two, but day three was was the worst. And I remember as I'm going live and as I'm welcoming everybody to Tax Stadium, Oval Stadium, and setting the scene and the tone that this team is playing against this team. And I hear, because you've got an earpiece, right? And they're counting me down. And so I'm thinking, it's the first time that this lady, I'm able to hear her as she's counting down. All the days I haven't been hearing anything. So clearly they had fixed something. And on the third day, it works. I'm able to hear that countdown. And suddenly I'm thinking, oh, maybe she's counting me down to me starting, and I might have started I might have started early. And so I paused for like 2 seconds. And my director says, no, why are you stopping? Continue speaking, you're live. And I just, and luckily for me, I just recovered very quickly and I just continued to speak. But there was a moment where you're pausing and there's silence. And oftentimes in live television, especially when you're speaking and you're not interviewing anybody, it's just you on screen. There can't be dead air, you know? Dead air has to be filled. And so it threw me off completely. But I was just like, you know what? Let me just recover, speak, continue speaking. But after that build up, I remember just thinking to myself, oh my word, I just want the world to open up. I want to get in there. I just want to go home, cry, and get over this because this is not for me. And I remember just thinking to myself that maybe cricket broadcasting is not for me. And I'm happy to just don't do live television and stick to my Lions cricket show where it's pre-recorded and I still get to talk about cricket, but I'm not covering live games. And it took me some time to get over that. I was hard on myself. I beat myself up. I thought maybe I'm not good enough to be in this space and I must just give up the dream of covering live games. And I remember having a heart-to-heart conversation with a good friend of mine in Bali who also works in the space but covers football. And she says, it has happened to all of us. It has happened to the best of us. When you're starting off, you're bound to make mistakes. You have to be a little kinder to yourself and just recover quickly. Don't lean on the mistake that you made because we're human and we're bound to make mistakes. And so be a little bit kinder to yourself, offer yourself some compassion and come back stronger. But boy, oh boy, it took a lot of effort to just get over that mistake. But who would have known? I mean, they called me back. Supersport called me back. So I wasn't too bad, clearly.
Really. Thank you for sharing this. It was such a memorable moment in your professional career. Uh, what do you think about like the current players? Like which current players like excite you the most, and like they are changing the pace and game of cricket?
Oh, Laura Wolford, let me tell you something. She is a monster.
Yeah,
She trains, she takes her cricket serious, she takes her captaincy serious. And we remember when she started off, Laura was always dubbed to be someone who is yes, the next best cricketer, female cricketer, right? And but her game has always been, she's always been good in the 50 over format. But there was a moment where she changed her game because she understood that T20 is where it's happening. And she started working on her game. And now you would never say that Laura was more of the longer format person because now her T20 game, exceptional. Her performances, constant performances. She's always racking in the runs. She's always been the player that sets the tone for any game that South Africa plays. She's consistent, she's reliable, and she's exceptional. I mean, her cover drives. Everybody speaks about
yeah,
Laura's cover drives. And she's still young. It's hard to
yeah,
believe that she is still young and she's got many years in this
yeah.
industry. And so she is set to be one of the greatest female cricketers the world has ever seen. And that's a player that I'm excited about. That's a player that I will continue to be excited about. But as far as younger prospects as well, I mean, we've got the young Ayanda Subi. We've got Garabo Miso, who plays for the Lions, recently hit her century in domestic cricket. And we know her from the under 19 setup, where she was part of the under 19 World Cup that was here in South Africa. And she was part of the team's tournament. And that's how exceptional she is. Exceptional with the bat, exceptional with the gloves. And so yeah, Karabo Miso is someone that I am really excited about in terms of just the future and where her game is going and how she's a player that is really, really, really talented. And yes, I am being biased because I'm South African, and so I'll speak about about my South African players.
No issues with that. I myself, I'm a big fan of Laura, so been covering her, been watching her from a long time now. I think the first instance when I saw her was, I think there was a picture of her with Virat Kohli which went viral, and she was quite young back then.
Yes.
And, and
Mm.
then, sort of she began her career, and instantly, I guess she improved and gained followers. All right.
So you could see that, it's a player that's recognizing another great player in Virat
Yeah,
Kohli.
yeah,
And Virat Kohli is an exceptional player, one of the greats in cricket. And I think for me, seeing that picture, it was a symbol of the life and the legacy that
yeah,
Laura is also going to leave for herself in the women's game.
yeah. Truly, truly. So moving on to another question. Broadcasting actually involves a lot of travel and long hours of work. So how do you manage the work-life balance?
Yeah, I mean, it looks for me, there is no balance. Let me tell you the truth. I haven't mastered the art of balancing work and life. For me at the moment, work is taking up a lot of my time. I am in a season where I'm doing a lot of grafting in my career. I'm putting in the hours, I'm doing the work. That is priority for me at the moment. And so there is no balance,
Yeah,
and that's the truth. And hopefully within a year, I'll be able to answer that question effectively for you, where I found the art of being able to balance my life, my work. But yeah, at the moment, it looks like it's a 60-40 scale, where 60% of my work and my life is leaning onto my work, and the 40% is more on my family, my friends,
yeah,
traveling, going on holiday, letting my head down, and just like relaxing and enjoying the beauty that is life. But I will say that 60% work, work, work.
yeah. Okay. So moving on, could you share, like, if I may ask you about your three favorite all-time cricketers?
My three all-time cricketers. Wow. I'm a big fan of Brian Lara. Brian Lara has been that player for me that I remember just when I was younger watching him play Test cricket and how much of a patient player he is and skilled player and just this cool composure about his game. And I was fortunate enough to meet him when the West Indies had come through to South Africa and play against South Africa. And he came in as a consultant for the team, and he happened to be at the Wanderers. I walk out of the lifts and he just rocks up out of nowhere. Can I tell you, I usually don't have starstruck moments, but in that moment, I felt like that young girl was just living out her dream of meeting her idol. And I remember just introducing myself and just saying to him that I'm a big fan. And I ended up taking a picture with him. I posted on my Instagram. And I think for me, that's like a moment that will live with me forever. So definitely Brian Lara. Number two, Jack Colors. And I mean, you cannot speak about South African cricket and not speak about Jack
Yeah,
Colors, right? Because he was just an incredibly talented all rounder. And unfortunately, I haven't met him as yet, but yeah, I just remember just being, you know, drawn to how talented he was with the bat and with the ball. And so Jack Colors. And last but not least, Makaya Ntini. Wow.
yeah,
And I'm fortunate enough to always bump into him because he also works for Supersport. I've been fortunate enough to bump into him, and and he's such a legend, but he's such a humble person. You know, he
Yeah.
still gets a lot of attention. You could walk with him in the streets and everybody just says, Makaya, and they want to take pictures because he's still such a legend. And and so those are my three players. And unfortunately, I grew up watching men's cricket because women's cricket was not covered when I was growing up. And so for me, I didn't grow up having a an idol in the women's game. And things are changing
Yeah.
because at least younger players, younger people now and fans of the game are able to understand Ishmael. I grew up watching Elise Perry. I grew up watching Samriti Mandana. And those, I'm happy that younger fans of the game are able to identify female athletes and cricketers as their idol. But as for me, yeah, those are my three idols that I absolutely still am a big fan of. Brian Lara, Jock Cullis, Makai Ndini.
Truly, truly, and I'm also actually quite a fan of them. Jack Scalise, Antony. In fact, I used to copy Antony's action as well back in my school days. I used to do this. You know,
I
he was such a popular cricketer,
love it.
Makaya. Yeah. So, moving on to our next segment. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna be putting you in a spot. All right. So it's gonna be a rapid fire round
Mhm.
followed by the this and that segment. All right. So you
Okay.
ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So starting the rapid fire round, your favorite place to watch cricket in South Africa?
Oh, the Wanderers, definitely. The Wanderers is an iconic stadium, and I love watching cricket there.
Okay. One cricketer you'd love to interview.
Makayantini, I've asked him. He said no, but I'm going to keep persisting until I have a sit down interview with Makayantini.
Okay. The best South African cricket moment you have witnessed.
Ooh, it was Newlands. It was South Africa versus England, and there was the 17th over where Ayabonga Kaka took three wickets that changed the game and ultimately led South Africa to beat England in a T20 World Cup campaign that led us to play against Australia in the finals. That was my
Yeah.
special moment.
Great. Great. A movie or series based on cricket that you love.
A movie or series. There's I think it's a movie or it's a docu-series that I've seen on Netflix where it covers Mumbai Indians and their journey
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
getting the trophy and
Yeah.
the trophy eluding them. And that was such a together docu-series. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Nice choice, I must say. I have
Thank you,
watched it
thank you.
quite a few times. Okay, your three favorite cricket commentators.
Kaz Naidu, Natalie Jamanas, Brett Proctor.
Okay,
Absolutely love. And outside of the fact that he has held my hand and helped me to grow and expand as a cricket broadcaster, but his love for the game is incredible. Covers domestic cricket with so much excellence. And even when he's given opportunity to cover international games here and there, he's just so good at what he does. He speaks with so much passion, and I'm drawn to his commentary
yeah,
because you literally can hear the passion seep through the mic into the viewers living room or wherever people are watching the game. And
yeah.
so I'm a big fan of Brett. I really am. He's got a special place in my heart.
Uh, okay, your go-to snack before a broadcast.
I'm a big fan of bread. So any sandwich, whether cheese and tomato, chicken mayo, I
Yeah,
will have just a quick slice of bread enjoy it, and then go do my work.
Okay. Your favorite team in SA20?
Favorite team in SA20? I'm going to be biased and say Joburg Super Kings because I mean I'm a Joburger.
Okay.
I'm a Joburger. And also it's led by Faf du Plessis. Faf du Plessis is just I've got his book, I've read his book, incredible captain, great work ethic. He he works hard and it's a team that's well led. Unfortunately, they haven't gotten the title as yet, and hopefully the next SA20 title, Faf du Plessis will lead his team to victory. But I think that's a team that I'm a big fan of.
My next question is actually related to Joburg. Uh, your like favorite place to chill out, like Cape Town beaches or Johannesburg nightlife?
No, 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 no. Definitely Cape Town beaches. I'm not a nightlife person. In fact, I'm so much of a homebody. But when I do get an opportunity to go out and like travel for a bit, Cape Town is my go-to destination. Absolutely love Cape Town. Love going to the beach, relaxing, chilling, and yeah, I really love Cape Town. I do.
Okay. One South African dish you would recommend to every cricket fan.
Wow, one South African dish. Oh, so I love my traditional food. So I'm Tswana. That's what you would call me. That's the tribe that I belong to. I'm Tswana
Yeah.
speaking, and so a lot of our food has like a lot of meat in it. And so there's a traditional how do you call it ding in Setswana, and it's like a bit of a sorghum kind of uh, starch that you have, and you have that with meat called choto, and it's like a broken down beef, right? And it doesn't have a lot of
Yeah.
gravy, but it's just so delicious. I'd definitely recommend that because I just am I'm a big fan of traditional South African food. So I would recommend that. I don't know if a lot of people would enjoy that, but yeah, I would definitely recommend that.
Okay. Last question of this round. The funniest on-field moment you have witnessed.
Excuse me?
The funniest on-field moment you have witnessed.
Funniest on-screen moment. I mean, on-field moment.
Yeah.
I can't think of an on-field moment, but I can think of a moment where I was I was about to go live for a game, and there are players that are practicing in the background. And literally a ball, before I went live, a ball came and it hit me on my leg. It hit
Oh.
me on my leg. I mean, luckily it wasn't very painful, but I was slightly bruised. But I just had to literally, it was seconds before I welcomed everybody to, let's say, welcome to the first T20 international between South Africa. And just before that, I get hit by a ball. And I just had to remain cool, calm, and collected and just continue with my broadcasting. But that was funny because I think I had Dane funny cat next to me, and he was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And then we giggled a bit, but we just continued. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Now, moving on to another segment. This is this or that. I'm gonna be giving you two choices, and you're supposed to pick one. So, shall I
Okay.
begin?
Yes.
All right. Relaxing at home or going out with friends?
Relaxing at home.
Okay. Books or podcasts?
Books.
Okay. Movies or web series?
Movies or
Web series.
movies. Definitely movies.
Okay. Beyonce or Shakira?
Beyonce.
Okay. Uh, my last question. What do you love listening to? Michael Holding or Jan Bishop?
Oh, definitely Ian Bishop. Number one. Number one.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lisako, for such a fun interview, such a fun chat I had with you. Thank you so much. Any final comments you want to say?
No, I really enjoyed myself. It was such a good conversation. I haven't had such a lengthy conversation in a long time where, you get into the heart of my story. You
Yeah.
even got me emotional. So big ups to you. You're a good interviewer, clearly.
Thank you.
But it was a good chat, and thank you so much for having me on your platform.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly,
Yeah.
I've got a cricket podcast
Yeah,
where
I have seen it. Yeah.
yeah, so I'll be interviewing Laura soon. I've interviewed Temba Bavuma, and I've had Ryan Rickelton on my platform.
Yeah.
I've had Shabmim Ishmael. So I'd encourage everyone that's watching to go and subscribe to my podcast. It's called the Pitch Side Podcast with Lesego. Subscribe. We're gonna run competitions on there, and so yeah, let people subscribe and support my work. I'd appreciate it.
Truly, truly. I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.